During my high school years, I worked late-night deliveries for a popular fast food joint. One fateful weekend, I found myself scheduled for a night shift until 10 p.m. As I cruised through the darkened streets, the eerie silence of the night began to unsettle me. Just as the clock struck 9 p.m., an unusual order popped up on my screen. The GPS coordinates led me to an unfamiliar location on Darkwood Road. A shiver ran down my spine as I realized there were no streetlights illuminating the desolate path ahead. The only company I had was the faint glow of the moon that barely pierced through the thick canopy of trees. My instincts screamed for me to turn back, but something compelled me to press forward. The winding road seemed never-ending, and anxiety gnawed at my nerves as each mile brought me deeper into the heart of darkness. An oppressive atmosphere surrounded me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Finally, the GPS announced that I had reached my destination. But to my horror, there was nothing there but an abandoned, dilapidated house covered in ivy. The sight sent chills down my spine, and I hesitated to get out of my car. My phone signal vanished, leaving me completely cut off from the outside world. An overwhelming sense of dread consumed me, and the unsettling silence seemed to intensify. It was as if the very air was tainted with an ominous presence. As I contemplated leaving, my headlights flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced on the old house's walls. Panic set in, and I called the customer to confirm the address. A distorted voice on the other end whispered a sinister confirmation, and I felt a rush of terror. Before I could react, I saw a figure emerging from the darkness, slowly approaching my car. His eyes gleamed with an otherworldly light, and an unsettling smile crept across his face. My heart pounded in my chest as he beckoned me to come closer. Fear gripped me, and my hands trembled as I locked the car doors. The man's eerie grin widened, and he spoke in a hauntingly melodic voice, urging me to follow him. Every instinct screamed for me to drive away, but I was paralyzed by an inexplicable fascination. Suddenly, a piercing scream echoed through the night, jolting me back to reality. It was the cry of a tormented soul, and it sent a chill down my spine. Without a moment's hesitation, I slammed my foot on the gas pedal and sped away, leaving the haunting scene behind. As I finally reached the main road, the weight of the night's terror lifted slightly. But the image of the man's haunting smile lingered in my mind, and the memory of the chilling scream echoed in my ears. I knew I had encountered something beyond the realm of the living. From that night on, I avoided Darkwood Road like the plague. The experience left me forever scarred, haunted by the suspicion that I had stumbled upon a malevolent force beyond comprehension. The chilling memory of that terrifying night shift serves as a constant reminder that some places are best left undisturbed, for they hold secrets that are far too terrifying for human minds to comprehend. At 17, I toiled away at my parents' diner. It wasn't bustling, but it kept the lights on. I handled the cash register, waited tables, and tidied up. Come summer, I worked full 40-hour weeks, often staying past closing time. One eerie Friday night, it was just my dad and me. As the last customers left, my dad helped me with some chores before locking the front doors and vanishing into the dark. Alone, I hurried to finish my tasks before the clock struck midnight. As I stepped outside into the dimly lit parking lot, a chilling breeze swirled around me. A creepy figure loomed by my car, his silhouette distorted by the flickering lamplight. His long, unkempt beard hid his face, and an unnerving smile played on his lips. Fear gripped me, and my voice quivered as I told him to leave. He chuckled, the sound like nails scraping a chalkboard, before vanishing into the shadows. My heart pounded, convinced he was lurking, waiting to pounce when I least expected it. Days passed, and on a gloomy night, just the assistant cook and I manned the diner. The clock neared closing time, and an ominous silence filled the air. A man, cloaked in darkness, entered without a word, sending shivers down my spine. He sat motionless, his eyes fixed on me. I mustered courage and approached him, but my knees wobbled with every step. As I drew nearer, a ghastly stench engulfed me, like decayed flesh and putrid filth. His gaze burned through my soul, and I struggled to speak. The assistant cook sensed my unease, but urged me to handle the closing while he dealt with the stranger. I tried to shake off the terror, but his hollow, lifeless eyes haunted my thoughts. From the corner of the diner, I watched the assistant cook politely ask the man to leave. A sinister grin spread across his face, revealing rotten, jagged teeth. As he got up to leave, he dragged his fingers across the table, leaving a trail of blackened slime. In the darkness, the man's face morphed into something horrifying. It contorted and twisted, taking on a ghastly, monstrous form. Panic consumed me as I realized he was not human, but a malevolent entity haunting the diner. When he pushed the door open, a piercing scream echoed through the air, chilling me to the bone. A sinister laugh followed, ringing in my ears like a macabre symphony. I prayed for safety as the police were called, but they arrived too late. The man had vanished into the night. From that night on, the diner became a nightmarish realm of dread. Shadows danced on the walls, morphing into grotesque figures, and whispers echoed through empty halls. I felt watched, stalked by an unseen force, and night terrors plagued my dreams. The assistant cook and I vowed never to speak of that night, but the haunting memories refused to fade. The diner remains a place of terror, where malevolent spirits lurk, and the darkness conceals unspeakable horrors. The night terrors live on, a chilling reminder that some evils never truly vanish. Last year, I started an overnight stocking job at a small grocery store, one of many chain locations across our state. The stores weren't massive, but they had an unsettling aura after hours. Most nights, a team of 2 or 3 of us would be in charge of getting the store ready for the next day. One fateful night, I arrived at 10 p.m., only to find out that one of the guys called off. It was going to be just me and my manager, Mr. Johnson, for the night. Mr. Johnson was a reserved man, making the night shift eerily quiet. About an hour into the shift, I was stacking chips in the aisle when Mr. Johnson appeared with a troubled look on his face. He seemed uneasy and asked me if I had seen anyone else in the store. My heart raced as I assured him I hadn't noticed anyone. Mr. Johnson was breathing heavily, and it was clear he was spooked. He mumbled something about seeing a shadowy figure walk past his aisle moments ago, but when he went to investigate, no one was there. I tried to dismiss his fears, but deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. For the next 3 hours, we worked separately, and I couldn't shake the sense of being watched. The silence felt ominous, and my mind played tricks on me, making every creak and rustle seem sinister. Around 2 a.m., I finished my tasks and went to find Mr. Johnson for further instructions. I searched the entire store but couldn't find him anywhere. His cart, half filled with merchandise, sat abandoned in an aisle, sending a shiver down my spine. My heart pounded in my chest as I called out for him, but there was no response. Panic consumed me, and I decided to check outside. The parking lot was empty, and I couldn't help but feel a dreadful chill in the air. A sense of foreboding overwhelmed me, and I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. The store seemed to close in around me, the aisles becoming claustrophobic tunnels of darkness. Trembling, I called the police for help, my voice barely above a whisper as I tried to convey the urgency of the situation. The police arrived swiftly, their sirens cutting through the silence of the night. Together, we rushed to the security room, where the store's CCTV cameras were monitored. The footage revealed a chilling scene that sent shivers down my spine. A shadowy figure moved like a wraith through the store, its movements calculated and silent. The stranger's face was obscured by the dim light, but his malevolent intent was unmistakable. My heart sank as I saw his malevolent gaze fixate on Mr. Johnson, our normally composed manager. The stranger crept up behind Mr. Johnson, his malevolent grin sending chills down my spine. In his hand, he held a gleaming knife, the glint of metal catching the dim light. My stomach churned with fear and anxiety as I watched him hold Mr. Johnson at knife point, forcing him to comply with his demands. I felt helpless, watching the horrifying scene unfold before my eyes. The stranger's grip on Mr. Johnson tightened, and I could see the fear in our manager's eyes. It was a nightmarish tableau, and I prayed for a way to intervene, to rescue Mr. Johnson from this malevolent predator. The stranger's voice was a low, menacing whisper as he ordered Mr. Johnson to the back of the store. Every step they took seemed to echo in my ears, each one leading them deeper into the darkness. The stranger's presence was suffocating, and I could feel the weight of evil in the air. As they vanished into the shadows, I knew I had to escape the store. Fear and dread consumed me, and I stumbled towards the exit, my heart pounding in my chest. The night had turned into a terrifying nightmare, and I couldn't bear to stay any longer. I fled the grocery store that night, never looking back. The horrors of that night still haunt me, and the fate of Mr. Johnson remains a haunting mystery. The darkness of that night shift holds secrets I dare not uncover, leaving me with a chilling reminder of the malevolence that can lurk in the shadows. Every creak, every flicker of movement in the corner of my eye serves as a constant reminder of that night, and I can't escape the feeling that the malevolent figure still watches, waiting for another victim to cross its path.